One of our favorite things to do on the podcast is to share stories of homeschool families who, as Carole says, have drunk the Kool-Aid of this method and are reaping the fruit of it. In this episode, you'll hear from a family whose story will encourage and inspire you. You're listening to the Homeschool Made Simple podcast. This is a podcast to help you homeschool simply, inexpensively, and enjoyably. Carole Joy Seid has been helping families homeschool for several decades now, and this is one of the families who have attended our seminars and consulted with Carole over the years. We hope this conversation spurs you on in your own homeschool journey. Listen in.
So welcome, friends. I am sitting across a screen from my friend Cindy Reynas in California as I sit on my front porch in Oklahoma. And just want you to know, if trucks go by or whatever, this is just the earthy, real life experience of being on my front porch swing. But hopefully it'll be pretty quiet. It's just such a beautiful day. I just couldn't stand sitting inside. So welcome, my friend Cindy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's so exciting to be with you. So how long have we known each other?
Probably 8 years, around 8 years, 8, 9 years.
Okay. And what brought you to me was it the seminar that we first connected at? Is that?
Yes, you were in Costa Mesa, and my husband was working with David Arroyo.
Yes.
And we were looking into private schools because we didn't like how public school was going for our daughter, which was in second grade. And we said, okay, we either go and petition the school and tell them, hey, what you're doing is wrong. Silencing our daughter. She wasn't allowed to hand out flyers that had like a Christ name on it. But that same day, a little girl handed out birthday invitations, and they were all handed out to the kids, but hers were not, because it was like a back to school, event. And she was heartbroken. And I told Joseph, I was like, well, they're already telling her that Jesus isn't correct. And I didn't like that. That didn't resonate well with me. So we started looking at private schools. We had we had Raleigh at the time, my second son. And I'm like, well, they're so expensive. Only one kid will be making it through private school, not the rest. So never thought I would be able to homeschool, or never even considered it. I grew up in public school, and he was working with Mr. Arroyo, and he said, come to the seminar. And I was super nervous, but I was like, I'll go and hear. And once I heard your seminar is like, okay, you made it so simple that I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. I love my child. I think I can put these methods into play, and I think we can do this. And then, after prayerfully talking it over with Joseph, we said, okay, I think we're going to pull her out as of, after second grade. We let her finish, and we were going to start. So as of third grade, Joey's been homeschooled, and now she is a junior in high school.
Oh, my word. Yes.
We haven't gone back.
And she's been to Coldwater.
Twice, yes. 2 years the past, not this year, but the past 2 years before that, yes.
Oh. And was her experience with Coldwater a good thing?
It was amazing. So she was 13 when we signed her up. And Joseph was going to go fly her over there. It was her first big trip. And we ended up putting in an offer to a home, and we got into escrow. And the price for the plane ticket was a little high, and at that point, we couldn't really afford for Joseph to go.
Yes.
And not only that, we were going to get the keys to our new home while she was gone.
Yeah.
So we gave her the option. We said, Joey, you either go by yourself and we can get the unaccompanied minor, or you don't go this year, we'll go next year. And she looked at me, she goes, Mom, nope, I want to do it. Very brave. And me and Joseph were both shocked. She was 13. How are we going to allow our daughter to get on a plane from California to Minneapolis and then to Duluth, or take a bus ride up to Duluth? And I was a little terrified, and we were praying and didn't want fear to overcome that decision. So we were really, Lord, if this is you, if this is not you, close the door. And the whole time we were praying. So we put her on a plane and signed her away to the attendant. And, Coldwater was great with communication, and, hey, we have your daughter. They said, hey, we have your daughter. And then they said, we made it back to camp. We'll talk to you in 11 days. I was like, oh my gosh. So that was a really big, that was the first time that has happened. People thought I was crazy. Have you heard from her? You know, my mom, my aunt, everyone that knew that we're going, they were all worried, didn't want me to send her. Um, didn't know that they were highly recommended from Carole. So, you know, they were all worried, thinking I was crazy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just had to have faith in God. I knew that this was going to be good for her. I knew that I didn't want fear to override this experience for her. And the whole time, anytime they try to set in, I would just pray and give it to God right away. So I wouldn't let those thoughts simmer. And she did great. She loved it. She came back. It was funny because she was kind of aloof to some things, a little to where I would be worried and tell her, Joey, you need to make sure you need to watch out. You need to look at people. You need to make eye contact. You can't just be, you know, looking down. You know, so I gave her the whole adult spiel. And she said that when she went in there, I don't know, so like this, but she ended up giving a guy that like kind of kept looking at her, whether she was young or whether she was like, why is she on the plane by herself or whatever.
Yeah.
She gave him a mean look and growled at him. And I said, Joey, she's like, Mom, and he never looked at me again.
So she learned.
Yeah, she learned to deter, and it was funny, but she was just she kind of came on her own when she came back. Me and Joseph got a babysitter for the little kids and took her to lunch and just wanted to hear her experiences, and she just sounded so grown up. Her conversations, the time she got to spend with the Lord just really matured her in a different way. She was a different girl when she came back. It was super sweet to see the impact it had in her life. Definitely.
Oh, that just makes me cry. That's what everyone says. My son JJ said the same thing when his daughter came back. He said she came back a different person. That is so encouraging. Well, tell us a little bit about your family. So, when I first met you and Joseph was a tattoo artist back then, right? But tell us about kind of what the Lord's done and how he's changed Joseph's career real briefly.
Yes, he was tired of sitting inside, ironically, since, you know, we talk about always being outdoors. He was in the military and loved the tactical end of being in the military. And when he was like, I can't be sitting inside for 14 hours a day, 12 hours a day, doing what I love, but it's so I need to be doing more. He wanted more. So we really talked about it. He came to a crossroad where I don't want to say he was unhappy, but it just wasn't feeling fulfilled. He was actually at that time tattooing a lot of police officers. Um, and they said, we need guys like you on the force. And he was already removing his neck tattoos because he wanted to go back in the military as an officer. So he was already doing, you know, when he got out of the military, kind of rebelled a little bit. You know, I'm going to be a tattoo artist for the rest of my life. Like it's good money. And it was, we were very well off. And so it wasn't the money, it was more the fulfillment. And we looked at our finances and realized we had to cut some things out because being a police officer was going to be a huge pay cut. I was at home with 4 children. We cut a lot of things out and made it to where it was only basic, like our living expenses were only on his base pay. And for our
Yes.
being in the academy, because he was going to be in the academy for 3 months. So we did what we had to and got hired on as a police officer. Really liked it. Within a year, he was able to be promoted after his probation, being an officer for a year. He was able to be promoted to their full-time SWAT team. He's only been an officer for 5 years. So we made that transition and it's been super great for our family. A big change, really drastic. He still does it on the sides and it's extra money versus it being, you know, our main income. But it's been a blessing, definitely.
Oh, so sweet.
Did you know we have a free book list to help you start building your home library? Carole listed out over 150 books that are on her bookshelves that have stood the test of time. Whether you are just starting to build your family's home library or you want to fill in gaps, this list is for you. Why spend time, money, and bookshelf space on mediocre books when there are so many wonderful ones in the world? Visit homeschoolmadesimple.net/book list to download the book list today. Happy reading.
So, Cindy, how has this method worked for your family? Would other methods have worked as well? Tell me a little bit about your homeschool journey.
So the reason why this method worked so great was because our we had our daughter Joey, And there was a lot of
Yes.
things were about letting her be herself and not being so hyper focused on making her sit and do this and do these worksheets, and just allowing her to be herself and allowing her to grow organically in the education process. I see it all the time. I talk to a lot of parents that are frustrated about homeschooling, just from church. And I'm just listening to what they say. And it's just like, oh, we didn't finish curriculum today. We need to go workbooks and, all this. And the workbooks, here's workbooks. And oh my gosh, it like makes me cringe. I feel so bad for them because I'm like, there's so much freedom in your method. And it really allowed Joey to really discover and go through the process and really find out what she loves, gave her the time to explore options without her having to sit and do math for 2 hours or finish the whole, math curriculum that year. Just she did her basics and she did her, math it and what she had to do. And then she was able to focus on what she loved and figure out what it was she loved. When we started your method, I think she wanted to be a doctor. And now, she really loves large animals and is looking maybe to be a vet. Or, there's so many things that she loves agriculture and maybe growing vegetables. And, so she loves that whole aspect and she's had time to develop. And with our boys, same thing. Our boys, your method has been a blessing for our boys because now we have 3 boys. Back then we only had Raleigh. Raleigh is now 12, and we
Yes.
have added 2 since. Royal, he is 7, and Rook is 5, going to be 6 in a month. So they're super close, but letting them be boys, letting them be outside, letting them explore we were able, when Joey was in Colorado, we obtained a property that had some acreage. So we were able to get horses and, we had chickens. We brought them over with us because we started small. And but the boys are outside, they're building things. They took a slide off of our playhouse, and it does get a little messy sometimes. My husband says, I see this at work, you guys need to clean stuff up, like. um but they get a slide from the side of the playhouse and they put it on the side of the hill and they're flying off the hill. And but my little 7-year-old moved the slide from the back of the house to the front of the house. He put it on the slope and was just zooming off. And for him to have the freedom to do that, it's been so great. So your program has allowed us to discover what they love and give them time to discover their hands, their movements. It's
Yes.
been interesting because, we moved out here and our kids are so agile when it comes to climbing up hills and going up mountains and going over the arenas for the horses and climbing those poles. They have a different agility for it. And
Yes.
then when we go into town, it's different. The kids aren't used to climbing hills, they slip easier. It's wild. I've noticed it over the years. And the boys they catch themselves, they fall and scrape their leg and they just get up and keep going. And everyone says I have the toughest kids, and it's just like I don't. They're just out in tough terrain all the
It's
time,
being in nature all day long.
all day long,
Yes.
and being able to
Yes.
explore their
And
childlike nature to be outside.
that's so good. You've been to I don't even know how many seminars would you guess you've been to?
At least 8. I think you've been in town maybe once or twice in those years. So
Okay. Well, at least 8. And you're always such a bright light for my day when you guys are there, you and Joseph both. But what benefit? I mean, people are like, well, I've been to a seminar. Like, why would I, go again? Why have you been to that many seminars?
you always hear something new, and something new always, it's like reading the Bible. You read the same scripture like 20 times and something new pops up every time, right? Or you're in a different season in life, and for that season you get spoken into. And a lot of times I think the enemy uses us being in a rut or being in the same routine as a way to distract us from what our calling is, or being able to adjust to a new season. And I think I've been really trying to be sensitive to that and go into your seminars and hearing sometimes the same thing, which is, I love the articles that you read, sometimes the same ones, but, now my 7-year-old is growing up and now I'm starting school with him. And, it's different. It speaks to me differently now for him with Joey. So even though my kids were in, junior high and high school, it's still relevant because as my littles are growing up, it's a refresher on why, this seminar or why I'm doing it and a reminder of why it's so important to, not be, to give them the freedom to learn and explore. So that's why it was so beneficial to always go. And I always receive something new. So I think if you go in with an open mind of like, Lord, you speak to me, show me what I need to take from it. Some people go in with like a closed mind of like, I already heard this. I've already been
Yeah.
here. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's going to taint the way, the way you receive. So
Yes.
when you go in with this open mind and this open heart of, Lord, you show me what I should take from this today. And,
Mhm.
what you say, even if it's some of the similar articles, now is speaking to my 5 and 7-year-old versus my 16 and 12-year-old. And that's
Yeah.
why I really enjoy going to your seminars and really always make it a point. I tell Joseph, I'm like, we're doing this. We have to go. We never know. I think I have almost all the books that are, there, but I always pick one or two up. But we love growing our library and the kids get so excited, and it's a blessing. It's a blessing to just be around like-minded individuals as well that are going through the same struggles. Not everyone does your method, so when you find somebody that does, and they are being successful, when you hear the stories of like the kids that went off to college, I'm like, okay, my kids aren't being ruined. They will
Right.
go to college.
That's right.
So mixed with what the counseling that you have, the sessions that you have, we've been able to cater our program to what we need, and it's been
Mhm.
fantastic.
Yeah, because I have your file here of all the years we've consulted, and I have pictures stapled on the file. And when the kids are little bitty, all the way till now, it's so sweet to have that relationship. We've walked together, and I've just
Yes.
seen what God has done in your lives. It's
Yeah,
been
and
quite a
we've
miracle.
we've had to during those 8 years. I think you remember a couple, maybe in 2019, we had to hit the restart button when right before Joseph. I think Joseph was right when he was doing that shift change. The reason why we started homeschooling too is his schedule. The kids wouldn't see their dad because of the type of schedule he worked. That was a big factor in homeschooling as well. We wanted them to be available, even if it was a little. They stayed up a little later. They could sleep in a little later because dad would get off work so late, but he wasn't seeing them. So homeschool allowed us that freedom. But when he was becoming a police officer, our whole family dynamic changed. And we needed your help to kind of reorganize that. And I think I called you, I said, Carole, we need to start fresh. Like I don't remember what grade Joey is. I think she was still in elementary school, but I was like, we need to hit a restart button, pretend this is our first consultation.
Yes,
And
yes,
we
yes.
we were in a whole different stage of life. I don't know if I think I told you we were on the point of putting the kids back into maybe like a virtual charter something, because I was had the two babies. I didn't really, it was hard, didn't have a lot of support. Joseph was gone so much with policing at that time. And
Yes.
I didn't feel led. I had everything filled out, but didn't feel led to put him back in. And then COVID happened. It was January when I was going to put him in for second semester. And then COVID happened. And I said, well, there was my answer. I said, Carole, we need to restart. We need to
Yeah.
restart and
Yes.
and go. And it's been a blessing to have you walk alongside with us.
I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful for Joseph because he really has drunk the Kool-Aid, hasn't he, Cindy? He's 100% in on this with you.
Yes, he is. When we hit that reset button, I think it was in 2019. When we hit that reset button, I think we were talking about I didn't want the TV in the main living room.
Yes.
And we said, we don't want it. And you said, Joseph, why don't you want the TV? He's like, because it's going to leave a big hole on my wall. And there's, there's a area for a TV. What else am I going to put there? And he's artistic. So in his brain, it didn't make sense to have a blank wall. And you challenged him to do a painting, and he has the outline and he did everything. He got really busy and we moved to this house where we are now, and there was no area for a TV. So but at that time he took the TV down. As soon as he said, okay, I sold it. I think I sold it for like $200, and we sold it and got rid of it. And he was just kind of like, now I have a hole. I bought a map to put the size of our TV. I put a map up on the wall,
That's great.
but it wasn't
I
an
love it.
idol when you walked
Right.
in.
Right.
Um, and he did drink the Kool-Aid and he loved it. And so we don't have a main TV. We have a little
Yeah.
32-inch that we bring out when it rains. And,
Right.
we do when the kids are not feeling well, we'll
Yeah.
we treat them to a movie or on the weekend.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. People think, it's different, but you drink it.
And he comes to the seminars and he
Yes.
consults when we talk on the phone.
Mhm.
He's so invested in your
Yes.
family and your children. Yeah.
Yes. It's really important. It's allowed us to grow as a family, and I need his help. And I think we had this conversation, because sometimes he didn't know, sometimes dads don't know where to fit in. And I told him, sometime I would ask for his advice, and he goes, I don't know, you're the one, teaching. But we had a conversation early on, but you see it in a different view. You have a different perspective, and you think differently than I do. I have more of a type. He's more of, artistic, and he just has a different view of things. I'm like, we complement each other. I need your opinion. I need to hear what you have to say. Sometimes I overload my schedule, and he's learned over the years to be like, you're not doing that no more. And I'm like, like I feel like I'm missing out, but I have to submit to that discernment he has as a husband. And it's been so great to hear his input and him just vocalize what's important for our family, what's too much. We're not doing that. We both grew up in sports, and we, even though we wanted the kids to play sports, it was more of like, well, they don't have to play sports, even though they're good. But let's pray and see what God has us do. So it wasn't like an automatic, they're playing sports. It was more of like, let's pray and see if that's what God wants for them. And although they would probably be really good at it, we live in a ranch. They're riding horses. Little Royal is really into motorcycle riding. We just got him a motorcycle, and it's a different type. But it was that discernment that he had to be able to walk away from the things of the norm. But he had that. He was able to bring
Yeah.
that into our family, which was really important. And I love his opinion.
So Joseph said, "We don't assume anything. Like, nothing is a given. Let's pray
Correct.
about everything." Oh, I love it. I
Yes.
love it.
He's like, what if they don't play sports and aren't in, full-time sports? And I was like, I played soccer for 14 years year round. And I
Wow.
was like, okay, we can
Yeah.
consider that, thinking like,
Yeah.
the Lord will change his heart.
Yes.
But no, the Lord softened my heart to know that it's okay to not live like everybody else.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, just being that's the customization that homeschool allows us to do. Every family is customized, but even every child is customized. Even our children don't all have to be the same.
Yes. And that's
Mhm.
how we go about it. Every child is different, and it gives us your method gives us the flexibility to allow that individual growth in each child. And
Yeah.
even though some of them have the same characteristics, their interest in what they would be good at is completely different. So
Wow.
it's been really freeing. Especially this year, we've kind of stopped all activities outside of the home other than church.
Yeah.
And we gave Joey the freedom to kind of pursue a little more of what she wants. So she got a job at a ranch,
Yeah.
working with horses, and really training. She's been training a lot, and she has the freedom to do that because we have the time. We're home. Um, Raleigh's been building knives, and he's just been really getting into what he loves.
Yes.
And Royal really likes motorcycles, so he is.
Mm.
And all the boys like to bake. My
Oh,
boys like to bake. It's
that
funny.
is so amazing.
They like to
And
cook.
Rook, and don't forget, Rook is a dog whisperer.
Rook is a dog whisperer, and he's going to be, I think he's going to be an artist like his dad. He's very meticulous with things. And he's the little spark in this family. It's been fun. And he cooks too, and he's 5. It's been interesting. He puts the
So,
step stool up there and makes his eggs. And it's really cute. It's really sweet.
wow. Well, any thoughts if a young mom or dad is listening to this today and they're maybe thinking about using this method or homeschooling in general, what would you say to them?
I would say do it without there's going to be fear there. Do it besides the fear. Reach out to Carole for guidance. Go to seminars, go to her seminars, not the homeschool seminars that are going to throw 120 different versions at you. Go with something that has been proven, something that is going to allow you the freedom to grow your children and love on your children and not have the pressure of feeling like you might not be good enough. I always tell parents, you are the guardian over your children. God entrusted you with these children, and he's going to guide you. And if you need help, Carole's here. Go to her seminars just go to her seminars, because the enemy will always try to talk to you like you're not good enough and you're doing it wrong. But when you're there, you get replenished with, no, I am doing it right. I am the best person to teach my child. And you
Right
get
now.
this confidence to not listen to everyone else and just hone in and focus on your family and your children. And you love your children more than anybody else. And God's going to guide you to pick the best route and curriculum, and it's just amazing. I definitely recommend it to families.
Cindy, you are such an influencer, and you and Joseph both. And I just love the way you sit in the front row and you cheer for me and you encourage me. And we just have a really sweet friendship, and I'm really grateful for your family.
We're super grateful for you. We
Yes.
wouldn't be here without you.
No. Well, thank you for sharing. And I know that as we prayed before we started to record, that there are people that needed to hear this today. And I know that there are divine appointments. So I'm so grateful for your time. God bless you, dear.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Homeschool Made Simple podcast. If you like what you heard in this episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, or share this episode with a friend. It means so much when you help us spread the message of Homeschool Made Simple with others. Thanks for joining us this week on the Homeschool Made Simple podcast. Remember, Jesus' commandments are not burdensome. What he calls you to do, he will enable you to do. Blessings.